Andy here talking. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thanks.
First of all, the album's finally appeared. It's been a long time, to say the least, hasn't it?
Yeah. We had to go through like a mini war.
Yeah, the LP was just a means of getting out of the deal with
the LP was the resolution. They said if you give us the LP, we'll let you go. So we said fine. So I mean, to all intents and purposes, we're off the LP. Yeah. Although obviously we want to promote it because we want to do it well. It's still our album.
The thing is, what everyone's forgot, like Static just said, oh, we've been doing nothing. We'd actually been touring all over the show. Went to America and all through Europe a few times. So we hadn't actually been recording, but we couldn't record for anybody else. We just do sessions. Yeah,
it was difficult because we couldn't write, because that was all the trouble tied up in there, so we couldn't write any new songs, because then otherwise they would have claimed them, and we didn't want that. So we just concentrated on playing places where we hadn't been before. Or
now that it's out, you did, of course, the Salford gig. It's part of a tour, isn't it? You've been up and down the country for what, the past couple of months, is it?
Yeah, the British dates are coming after the European.
Yeah, we're leaving for Europe in 2 weeks.
When originally it was supposed to be at the beginning, but the English dates are coming at the end now.
And of course you've got a gig you want to plug now, haven't you?
The date that's been set initially is the 27th, and we finish in Berlin on the 25th, so it's going to be a bit of a mad dash back. So it might find it's been put back a few days. It's 27th of June. It's to raise money for coaches, for people who are going to protest against the YCS conscription. It's £2 in. There'll be like a few things happening. Make it a bit of an event, and it'll be a really good night. So.
Sorry, where was it, Mark?
It's at the Middleton Civic Hall.
Are you going to be likely to take a single off the album, do you think? Or does Static want you to?
No, we wanted to put out Home Is Where the Heart Is, mainly because it was like the latest thing we'd done. Yeah, and we just thought it was a good single to follow up the re-release of In Shreds. But Static, we started getting the cover together to release with the album, and Static all of a sudden just dropped the idea.
They changed their minds.
So we've done newer material now, so I reckon Home Is Where the Heart Is will probably get put back, because it will be out of date by the time we get to release it on a new label.
You see, the thing is, you've got quite a few fans, to say the least, that have followed you over the years. And nowadays, when it comes down to charting records, I, for one, would have thought it might be a good idea to put something like a Chameleons double track out, with maybe an unreleased track on the B-side, or a live version of a song, and your fans would buy it, and consequently it would chart and sell the album off the back of it. That doesn't half help the record company, doesn't it?
It's those people initially who, like, first of all, the first single In Shreds and Scripts of the Bridge, it's those people that they were the first to get into the group, and those are the people that, like, I know I can't speak for others, but I consciously feel I want them to stay with us. And when a label comes to you and says, right, we want you to do this and do that and do the other or whatever, and it can be tasteless, do you know what I mean? Everything that we've done, people have responded to, is the way we've packaged our stuff and the way we've done it ourselves, our band being involved. We want to retain that, and if it charts, if we do something in that way, the way we've done it, and we're pleased with it and it charts, and that's great, but we don't want to consciously do things as ploys to sell, you know. I mean, the ideas you discussed, I mean, they're good ideas, and the ideas are possibilities are endless, you know, and we'll explore them, hopefully, but you know, you've got to be careful what you do, because you don't want to do something just for the sake of selling the record, you know, which is a record company will tell you that, obviously, because that's their business. But I mean, we want to try and just keep it as spontaneous as possible and as tasteful as possible, because people that we've won over, we don't want to lose them. We want to grow, not sort of switch another audience, people who might be into more commercial stuff for the sake of people who first got into the band.
The thing is, I mean, it wouldn't be an understatement to say that due to your firm beliefs on how the band's career should be structured, you've suffered in the past, haven't you, with record companies? I mean, you had this deal with Epic, and then one single came out, and then you disappeared.
Yeah, they just didn't...
I mean, what was it, a 7-album deal or something?
8-album deal. Yeah, they signed us on the strength of a tape, and just assumed that everything we wrote was
like that.
And when they heard In Shreds, they nearly died. They couldn't believe it.
Really?
Yeah, and they're trying to get Mark to change his lyrics, and so we just said, it was like mutual.
I suppose the sleeve as well, they had something to say about that.
Yeah, they didn't like that.
Did they want a nice photo of the boys on the front?
Yeah,
perhaps,
I mean,
you know,
the demos,
jumping off a roof or something.
Yeah. The demos we presented them with were the songs on the tape were basically Scripts of the Bridge, in a rough form, but they rejected them. They didn't like it. You know, they thought it was a load of crap. So it just, one thing led to another, and it ended up in the end. If they said black, we said white. Do you know what I mean? And it was impossible. So we, at the time, I mean, it was all brand new to us as well. I mean, it was just we were like we're still naive to a certain extent, but more so then. And we was just. We signed a long-term deal with CBS, which potentially could tie us up for might as well have been forever. And within 3 months, regretted it deeply, you know. So I mean, the way it works out, although it was a blow at the time, the way it works out has been better for us because we wouldn't like to have been on that label.
In a way, because we got what we wanted, and that was In Shreds out.
Yeah.
And now we've got it re-released, so we're not worried about.
Yeah.
Whose idea was it to re-release In Shreds?
It was ours really, because we hadn't had a record out for so long because of the dispute with Static that. We just thought, and there was a demand for that record.
I mean, the fact that our first single was deleted, I mean, that was an insult, really, because we really believed in that record. We didn't want a record that they could put in glasses and ram down people's throats. We wanted a record people could get into and go around to the mate's house and say, listen to this, bang it on the turntable. You know, that a good record that people can get into themselves without having it just rammed in the faces and then buy me, you know. And that's what we tried to do. Now, they couldn't understand that at all. You know, they was only geared to sell records one way, and that was, you know, the gross way that one normally associates with big business record companies. And the fact that we got it out at all amazed me, you know. But then to have that record deleted as if it didn't exist, you know, which basically it just
doesn't always mean that.
Collects dust on a shelf somewhere.
You find a lot of U2 singles are deleted. Doesn't mean that they're not like things people want to buy. There's a bit of marketing ploy in there as well, isn't there?
But in our case, it was a case of write them off and just forget about it, sort of thing. And it was just collecting dust on some shelf somewhere. And when we approached them once before with the view of trying to buy the tracks, but the figure they wanted was so ridiculous we couldn't possibly do it, you know. So the way that it's turned around again, it's worked out okay because now people can get it.
Okay, right, we started off this chat with Intriguing Tangiers, which is one of my personal favourites, and I'm going to let you chaps pick another one yourselves now. Perhaps a possible favourite off your latest album? Anything you'd like to hear on the radio?
My personal favourite after that, I think, is Home Is Where the Heart.
Yeah, I'd go along with that.
Wonderful stuff. 2 tracks there from the new album from the Chameleons. What does anything mean, basically? What a mouthful that is. I hate saying that. And mind you, when they were in here after the Ritz gig, I called them the Comedians, so I can only get better. That was Mark and Dave, of course, from the band, and part 2 of that will be heard on this here programme next week. Every time I've seen you with a keyboard player, actually, I thought it complemented the sound. I mean, even though you do have 2 guitars there going away fervently all through the performance.
Well, we change our minds. Sometimes we really like keyboards, and sometimes we
well,
don't.
That's it, really. I mean, basically, you don't... To have a permanent keyboard player means that you're writing keyboard parts. It might be a song we don't want keyboards on, and then it becomes awkward.
Yeah.
So we've done the latest thing we've done. This is not on this album, but that basically started off with keyboards, but we don't want to limit ourselves to using keyboards.
But it is a very distinct guitar sound. I mean, it's horrible to tag you as a guitar band, but you've got to be a guitar band, haven't you?
Yeah, really.
How does the guitar work? I mean, obviously you're all good mates. It's not a battle of egos, is it? I mean, you just like... You compliment each other, yourself, and...
Yeah, that's what how I put it,
Yeah.
We just sort of...
Does one of you come up with, like, a little, chunky little riff and the other guy play around it, or...?
Yeah. It can be different. You know, it's just... We don't really know how it happens.
The last one was just
very
2 chords on a keyboard.
That's how it started, yeah.
How do you write your songs? You write them with acoustic guitars, you write them at a piano, what, I mean?
No, we just jam them out.
Jam it out, rehearse.
You just spend a lot of time locked away in rehearsal and...
Yeah, and if we can't think of stuff that ourselves, we play... You know, other things, and sometimes they just spill over into the set, like Splitting in Two. We always used to play that, you know, if we was rather sat around and we said, well, let's learn that, and we started doing that at gigs, and songs that we really liked by other bands. We did a version of Breakdown in Preston, which was like Pete Shelley heard it. It just throttled me, I think.
What do the Chameleons listen to at home, if you do get to home any time? I mean, what do you listen to on the bus when you're driving around playing gigs?
My favourite bands are the Cocteau Twins and the Smiths. But we listen to all sorts, full of Feel Acuity, Gil Scott-Heron, loads of things right across the board, you know.
Do you find listening to lots of a wide cross-section of things that perhaps inspire you to experiment a little?
Yeah.
I mean, the Cocteaus isn't the most obvious music that perhaps you think that the Chameleons would listen to, let's face it.
No, everyone thinks we're U2 fans, and